No, in all honesty, I genuinely like Moist Critical, Charlie, whatever. But, come on, man, talk about the blind leading the blind. Jesus. So, this, I'm assuming you can see this already. This here, Penguinz0, I never know how to say his fucking name. Penguinz0. He just debated Sneako and lost. How do you lose a debate to Sneako? That's what I'm really curious about. I don't get it. How does anyone lose a debate to Sneako? He got on the Andrew Tate bandwagon until he realized it was no longer profitable, then he jumped right off it again. He just says shit. So I'm curious. Hi, Tom. I'm just curious what the fuck's going on. What's Tom Dark is a very sexy human. Of course. I mean, look at that hairdo. How can he not be? Tom is one of the few people in the world who makes me happy that I no longer grow hair. Because if my hair looked like his, I'd want to shave it off anyway. I'm just being mean. I don't mean that. I don't know why I'm being mean. I don't know. I'm not mean. I was mean. I apologize. I take that back. I'm just jealous. I wish I had hair. I'm very jealous. What's going on? Talk to me, Tom.
Just debated Sneako, and it was an absolute mess.
I'm talking about your personal beliefs. Do you think someone in their 20s should be able to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
To someone in their 20s should be, I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know many people who would do it. The maturity for people in the teenagers in the West is getting much worse, but there are...
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for... I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore. Anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
Sneako pedo now?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it,
what?
Why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Well,
why would I tell them if everybody's consenting, if everybody's okay with it, the parents are okay with it, if nobody's being harmed, if it's going to be okay, if they're both abiding by the rules and they're not hurting each other, why not?
But they're still, like, they're at best a sophomore in high school. They can't consent to something like that.
Hold up. I don't understand. It's like, how is this even a debate? Sneako is basically just doing the whole, I want to keep the government out of everyone's business thing, which I would normally agree with. But when it comes to kids, and yes, someone who's 15 is still a kid. If anything, they're probably incredibly vulnerable at 15. Getting married is not a small thing. And somebody in their 20s who is, I mean, let's be fucking honest. If we're talking about someone who is caught on the internet and they're in their mid-20s and they're caught texting, as we've had recently happen a lot on the internet, somebody who is 14, 15, what happens? They get thrown under the bus and they get run off the internet. Why? Because it's wrong. So if it's wrong to text a kid, surely it's even worse to marry one. How are you not winning that argument? At worst, you're letting Sneako just sort of get away with it.
Nuanced view than most of the internet on what makes someone a creep. I've taken a lot of flack for saying that people who are, in my view, not creeps, somehow actually are. Like, I don't think that a 16-year-old dating an 18-year-old makes them a creep, because I think
that's very fair. It's what you've got to deal with it on an almost on a case-by-case basis. Like when it comes to that age. They weren't talking about an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. They were talking about, like, what, a 24-year-old and a 15-year-old? That's different. That's very different.
Nuance matters. But right now, a lot of people are being talked about online and accused of a lot of shit. We had the Dr. Disrespect situation.
Hey, what's this? Oh, it's just, okay, yeah.
Situation where he admitted to talking to a minor inappropriately. We had the Chris Tyson situation where Chris was a huge fan of Shadman and also got into some trouble for some weird shit they were saying around minors, which is not good, to say the least. And I think that both of these people...
Exactly. That's my point. Right there. The Chris Tyson situation. He From what I can gather, and I'm not entirely certain that I have all the information on this yet, because I've not really looked into it, because frankly, I don't really care all that much. I don't know who the guy is. I'm not a Mr. Beast fan. But from what I can gather, he was somebody who was in his 20s. I'm assuming he was in his 20s. Mid to late 20s. Sexually messaging, or at least messaging in rather inappropriate ways. Somebody who was like under 16. How are we going to say that that is terrible and you should be run off the internet for that? But, oh yeah, if everybody's alright with it, then we can just let a 26-year-old marry a 15-year-old. That's cool. That's alright. That won't cause any problems down the line. We should just be alright with that. I don't... How the fuck is moist critical?
People should definitely be condemned for what they did. But one person who's been popping up a lot in the news lately has been Sneako, as he was defending Dr. Disrespect.
Pokimane, your audience is just jerking off watching you, and everybody knows that. And you know it. Look at her. She's looking down saying, stop that. Look at that cringe. She's cringing at her simp fans jerking off on the stream all day, and she's aware of it. And then she has the balls to go say Dr. Disrespect's a terrible person. Bro, this is my problem with this.
They're both bad people, but like that doesn't.
But nobody cancels Pokimane. There's no hate brigade. Everyone's like,
text a 17-year-old.
But she has 13-year-olds jerking off to her, and she's fine with it and monetizing
it.
And
he's not doing that. No, that's not the same. That's absolute horseshit. That's not even remotely similar. She isn't the one going after the kids. Jesus Christ, how many teenage boys are whacking off to women on the internet? And yet we don't say that all these porn sites are evil. Well, some people say they're evil. But we don't go after them because kids have been whacking off to you. Now, they're meant to be for 18 rated things, but we all know it. And Jesus Christ, I know when I was a kid, one of the things that men, or the boys, used to whack off to a lot was the women in the wrestling. Are we supposed to criticize the women wrestlers for being in the ring and making a 12-year-old boy horny? No, they're just doing their thing. That's not even remotely the same as if she was the one messaging a 13-year-old. It's the complete inverse. How is anyone losing an argument to Sneako? He's a fucking dipshit. He's an absolute dipshit.
Had a very hard time talking about the age of consent and what he thinks it should be. He had a very bad debate where he could not answer where he thinks the law should set the age of consent to be.
Age of consent should be, Sneako.
This is not an important conversation.
No, you don't think kids are not an important conversation? What do you think the age of consent should be? If you want to be consistent, you don't think anything updates, just tell us what you think it should be.
I think it should be past at a developed age.
What is a developed age? If you had to set a law for it, what would you set it? What would you set it about?
It's a developed age.
And with all of this going on, he managed to get Penguinz0, Moist Critical, or Charlie on his stream to debate him. Now, Charlie, as much of a fan of him as I have been in the past, did not perform amazingly in this debate.
Well,
I think it's clear that he's not very...
Let me give Charlie, Moist Critical, Penguinz0, whatever you want to call him. Let me give him his due. Like, he's not a debater. It's like, this is why I would never, ever... Not that anybody would want to know what the fuck I think anyway, but this is why I would never put myself in a situation online where I would be in a debate. Not unless I was concretely confident in what the topic was. And I mean, like, steadfast. I know my shit. I know everything. Because I'm not a good debater. I'm not. I'm terrible. It's not my strong suit. But I'm aware of that, and so I wouldn't put myself in that situation. I don't feel like Charlie is a good debater either. I don't think he is considered one of the sort of debaters on YouTube. I use that term a little bit loosely because I think a lot of debates on YouTube are just people shouting at each other and no one's really debating anything. But if I was going to put myself in that situation, it would be very, very, very specific circumstances. And I feel like Charlie is, I don't know how he's got himself in that situation, but he's not a debater. Not at all. Jesus Christ.
Skilled debater, not his most amazing skill, but I don't really blame him for that because the average person is not watching a lot of autistic debate content online. But regardless of how good or bad he is at this debate, the stuff Sneako was trying to push in this debate was absolutely insane, and Charlie also was trying to push.
What's this say? Irrational Chad. Moist Critical is arguing insane shit for no reason here. No, it is not acceptable for a 9-year-old to get gender surgery, LMFAO. Yeah, no shit. Feels like he's too worried about upsetting the queer mafia. Oh my god. Oh boy. To the point of absurdity. Wait, so are you saying that Moist was saying it is okay for a 9-year-old to get snip snip? Or the other one? Why would it? Why? How is that relevant to the argument? This is what I mean. Moist Critical, Charlie's not a debater. So he's floundering around, coming up with whatever he can.
Some really dumb shit, and I feel like I have to, call it out a little bit here because he said something here that is, I'm just not cool with.
Oh, in the 1800s, when it was the age of 10, that was fine. Legally back then, they were not.
Oh god, this is a mess. So, I'm watching a Tom Dark video about a video between Sneako and Moist Critical. And in that video of Tom Dark, where he's watching Sneako and Charlie, Destiny is watching that video. And I'm watching the video of... Oh my god, this is... I don't even know what levels of Inception we're working on here. I don't...
File. Today, legally, they are a file.
Wait. When was the age of consent?
The thing that the conversation starts with is Critical one. Some really I'm just not cool with.
Oh, in the 1800s, when it was the age of 10, that was fine. Legally back then, they were not a file.
Wait, yeah, what? When the age of consent was 10? When? I don't know. I don't know if we've ever... Maybe this is American, or I don't know. America's not that old of a country. I feel like it would have been quite obvious if there was an age gap or an age limit of 10. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. But I mean, Destiny seems a bit confused by that, and normally I wouldn't go for anything that Destiny says, but I think he's probably right in his confusion as well. I'm not quite sure where Sneako's pulling that from. And that's the thing, Charlie's got a computer right in front of him, he could Google that shit right now. Like, stop Sneako right there, and just say, hold it up, Sneako. The age of consent was 10? When? And then Google it. Because he's building a point on that fact. So you need to prove that that fact actually is true before you go anywhere with it. And who the fuck's going to trust that Sneako is going to bring out a fact that's true?
Today, legally, they are a file.
Wait. When was the age of consent?
The thing that the conversation starts with is Critical wondering why the age of consent is something that Sneako is so intent on debating, or why he has such an issue with the age of consent in general. Charlie says the age of consent should be an accepted number, meaning 18 years of age should be the age of consent, because when you're 18 years old and you're going to college, you can drive, you're doing very adult things, versus under that age, you're still a kid. Sneako then responds by saying that the age of consent in most states is not 18, which is true. About 30 states in the United States have the age of consent set to 16 years old. Charlie then says, well, yeah, but that mostly applies to Romeo and Juliet laws. Like a 19-year-old dating a 16-year-old is legally not considered bad because obviously they're relatively close in age. And we can recognize that there are exceptions where somebody may be breaking the law, but it's not like a...
This is like a... It's almost where you got to go on a case-by-case basis where we have to have line. We have to draw a line somewhere. Okay. Is an 18-year-old bonking a 16-year-old okay? I'll start with a 17-year-old. Is that okay at a 17? I think most people would say yes. Okay, what about 18? I think the majority of people would still say yes. 19, I think you're getting into dicey territory. And I think if you asked about 20, I think that's where people would go, no. I think you could find a lot of people who said 19 is too far. But I think 20 is where people would draw the hard line. 21, definitely. Because people see 21 as like becoming a full adult at 21. That's kind of, whether that's true or not, I don't know whether or not that's based in any physical thing at all. I think it's just a number that society has kind of landed on. Plus, in America, you can't drink until legally anywhere. You can't drink until you're 21, right? That's what I mean. Like, we've kind of all agreed that 21 is this absolute, you are an adult now number.
Feel like act, right? Sneako then says he's not arguing to lower the age of consent. He's against the idea entirely. He then points out that in Europe, the age of consent is 16 in a lot of countries. In Brazil,
wait, whoa. Yes, it's true. The age of consent is 16 in Europe. That's true. Brazil? Okay, yeah, okay. But so what? What's this got to do with anything? Okay, another country has got a lower age of consent. All right, I don't agree with that age of consent. But we're not talking about Brazil. I don't think the vast majority of the people in the UK or in America or in Europe would say, yeah, we're cool with, like, you know, a teenager or a 13, 14-year-old being the age of consent. And if your argument is just, oh, well, they do it in some countries. Oh, well done. Great. Yeah, they do it in some countries. And your point is what? Some countries are fucked up. Sorry to say it. Some countries have got fucked up laws. I don't mean that justifies it because they're doing it. It's a non-argument. It's a non-starter.
14 years old, I believe. He's basically saying that the law varies from place to place. So he asks Charlie why he believes 18 is the true age of consent to be respected. Charlie then brings up that just because it may be legal in some places, that doesn't mean it's right. Sneako responds by saying, okay, well, I wouldn't really do that. I wouldn't date someone that age. But it has nothing to do with their age. It's because he doesn't hook up with people anymore, and that's his greatest qualm about having someone underage, that it's like out of wedlock. He then claims that even having an age of consent encourages premarital sex somehow. So Charlie says, okay, would you marry a kid?
Okay, so then instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex, would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old?
How old is Sneako? How old is Sneako right now? If I Google this, can I keep... Yeah, I can keep that on there. 1 second. How old is he? He's 25. Okay. So Sneako right now is 25. Right, let's just... Right, let's go.
Okay, would you marry a kid?
Okay, so then...
So 25-year-old
instead of let's take it away from like premarital sex, would you feel comfortable marrying a 16-year-old? Like, would you meet a 16-year-old with romantic intent if you're in Europe and maybe marry a 16-year-old? Nothing sexual.
I probably wouldn't personally, because I don't think that I'd be on the same mental playing field. I'd like to have intellect.
There. That's it. End of argument. He has just fundamentally explained why it's not okay. In that one sentence. Because you're not on the same level playing field, mentally or physically. One is a kid, one is an adult. That's the end of it. This is... I'm not watching all this video. Fucking hell, this is ridiculous. I don't see how Charlie got bamboozled by this motherfucker.
Intellectual conversations. I like to be with women that are around my same age.
So in his personal life, if he can, for some reason, understand that a 16...
I think I know what Tom's going to say, but I'm going to say it myself. I don't get why Sneako clearly has this, or he says he does anyway. Like I've said earlier, Sneako does talk absolute bollocks. But he seems to think that I am not comfortable in my own life with dating a 16-year-old, 15-year-old. But it should be legally okay. What? Surely you feel that way for a very fundamental reason. And the reason that you feel that way is the reason we have the law. It's very simple, actually. So I don't know why... I don't really know why Sneako is arguing this too much, to be honest. And I really do not understand how Charlie is... One, I don't know why he's in this situation that he's in. Really, I don't know why he's allowed himself to get into this position in the first place. But even having got himself into this situation, how is he not able to just shut this shit down? Again, this is... Charlie shouldn't have done this. He's made himself look bad for absolutely no reason. He's not a debater. Like, Moist Critical is not a bad guy, from all intents and purposes that we've seen online. Like, not a bad guy at all. But he's put himself in a no-win situation. It's... Jesus Christ. I wish somebody around Critical could have gone and seen that he was going to do this and said, Charlie, let somebody else do it, you're not a debater, it's not your bag. But I get a feeling Charlie's got a lot of people around him who are just kind of yes men, who will probably just be like, yeah, you'll go do it. Yeah, you'll do great. Because they don't want to say no. Because, let's be honest, like Charlie, Moist Critical, he is in that kind of circle that he's got there. He's the leader. They're not going to want to say no to him. If he wants to do something, he's going to do it. But I think it's the sign of a true friend sometimes is when you have a friend who can turn to you and say, not this one, champ. This is a bad idea. And they might get upset in the moment. If, like, what do you mean? What? You think I can't do it? You think I can't debate? It's like, no, I just don't think this is a good idea for you. But as a friend, I'm telling you I don't think this is a good idea. You can take that or leave it. But I've got a funny feeling Charlie didn't have anyone telling him, yeah, you know what, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe don't do this. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a history of Charlie doing these kind of debates on his own. I know I've seen him in the past where he's got like other people in the chat as well, where someone's been sort of criticized for something, or they've been criticizing something. But I don't know about one-on-one debating. I don't really feel like I've seen Charlie do that before, but I could be wrong.
18-year-old is not the same thing as an 18, 19, 20-year-old in most cases. He can see that clearly, but then when it comes to applying it to other people, for some reason, he's like, oh, yeah, exactly. Well, it's fine. Which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
I think there'd be too much of a gap. But other people, like, if they're able to get along, then I don't see why that's so much of a problem.
Well, the reason why it's a problem is because...
And then Charlie's just like, you make a point. Just, I don't know.
A 16-year-old does not have the same mental maturity as somebody who is, let's say, 26. They are vastly different at different stages in their life. The 26-year-old has had college, they've had jobs, they've had experiences far beyond the 16-year-old. That makes them much more...
We're only like 5.5 minutes in. How is this 27 minutes, Tom? What more could have actually happened? Seriously. What more has happened? I'm going to give this video another couple of minutes and then I'm going to cut it off.
Able to make informed decisions about their life. 16-year-olds have had none of that. So I would say it's wrong to have sex with them if you're far older. Even if that 16-year-old may be physically mature, they're not mentally mature. It's as simple as that. And I think Charlie actually makes that point pretty well. But Sneako then starts digging into Charlie's ideology a bit. Charlie says that someone who is 17 years old and 364 days is a kid, but somebody who is 1 day older is automatically not a kid. And
yes, that's my point about the line. You have to draw a line somewhere. Obviously, when you're going to draw a line somewhere, there's going to be a grey area where it is a bit strange. Because you could sort of say, well, yesterday they were not an adult, but now they are. Like, yes, there's going to be that. My dogs are going nuts. Why are they going nuts? Am I going to have to go look at the dogs? Am I going to have to go check the dogs out, see what they're doing? Is she gonna stop? I think it's the neighbors again. My neighbors are doing shit next door. My dogs are not impressed by this at all. I love how they decided to start working right as I decided to start streaming. Very much appreciative of that.
Obviously, this is how we treat it legally sometimes, but practically speaking, a one-day difference is not a huge change in maturity, right? And of course, the counter-argument someone could make is, okay, well, let's say a 16-year-old is very smart, they've graduated college early, they...
1 second. Just shouting the dog in. I can hear her running around out there. She's, I think they've got workers out there or something, and she's having a go at them. Telling the naughty workers off for being noisy. Maybe I shouldn't tell her off after all.
Drive a car, would you say that you can just date them? And I would say no. But Sneako begins to catch Charlie in some serious traps, and he doesn't do a good job of handling it.
You do admit that that varies for most people, right? A lot of people don't move out of their parents' homes until they're 25, 26, 27. A lot of people don't.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people graduate high school 16. A lot of people graduate high school 20. It's a huge variable. So to set that in stone is that this is when you're a kid and this is you're an adult, that doesn't apply to most people. So why would you define a kid and an adult if it doesn't apply to most people?
No.
Because it needs to be defined. Otherwise, you can get into this really gray area where you, like a lot of the things you say, can be misconstrued as you wanting to have sex with a 15, 16-year-old.
Who construed that?
A lot of people, because I mean,
I don't think anybody
clips that I played in the video, you were saying like the age of maturity, the age of development, and then you use 16 and 17 in that clip.
So
like, for the age of marriage.
The definition of an adult is 18 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fine establishment right there. Anything under 18 would classify as a kid. I think that's important.
Okay, but you're getting that from what? From personal experience, from the government, from the law? Because that's legally in America, that's when you become an adult, correct?
Yeah, legally.
So you're following the government's definition of an adult.
I think there needs to be a definition, and that one's been around for a long time, and I think that's the one most people accept as the closest to, like, yeah, this is when you become an adult.
Now, for the purposes of...
Look, I see what Sneako is trying to do. And it's very sneaky. Sneako is being sneaky. Who'd have thought it? By taking... See, Charlie's made a mistake here. By the looks of it, obviously I've not seen the full debate, I'm only going on Mr. Tom's video. But Charlie seems to have grounded his idea of an adult in materialistic things like you can drive a car at this age, you can drink at this age, you graduate high school at this age. And of course Sneako, being the sneaky that he is, can play about with that and say, well, sometimes people graduate over here and people don't learn to drive until this and they don't move out of their house until their parents' house until this. And so because Charlie hasn't pinned down what an adult is, Sneako can just kind of weave and dodge around it. Charlie's come at this wrong. He should have fundamentally said no. I mean, goddamn it, Sneako. I don't know whether or not Sneako said this later or earlier in the debate, but we've already seen it in this video. Sneako's already made the point for Charlie. When you're 14, 15, 16, you are mentally and physically less developed than somebody who is 22, 23, 24. They're an adult, they're a kid. I don't see how that's complicated. It's not complicated. This entire argument between Sneako and Charlie is all about overcomplication. And Charlie, by trying to pin an adult down, the definition of an adult down by going on things like graduating school, he's given Sneako an out in this debate. And I wouldn't even say that Sneako is winning this debate. I would just say Charlie is just losing it. Which I think is actually... Yeah, that's the... the title of the video is Penguinz... how the fuck do you say... Moist Critical, I'm going with that. Moist Critical just debated Sneako. He lost. I think that's the right way of putting it. I don't think Sneako's winning this debate. But god damn it, Charlie is losing this debate.
preventing child abuse, and a whole host of other issues, I agree that 18 should be the age of consent. Because the problem you can run into if you get rid of that is that you can begin to justify a whole list of other horrible things. Sneako makes the argument that the law should just be abolished entirely, which is just fucking stupid. That's wrong.
Sneako's making the argument that it shouldn't be. I thought Sneako's argument was that it should be. Wait, what? His argument is that there shouldn't be one at all. So by Sneako's definition, Ian Watkins, the lead singer of Lost Prophets, for anybody who is not familiar, he committed a crime in this country. He's currently in prison. And he had sex. This is horrible. But he had sex with babies. Young babies. 1-year-old, 2-year-old. I'm not sure exactly what the ages was, but absolutely just disgusting. If you get rid of the age of consent, that's legal. Straight up. Now, the moral compass, I think, of most people would still kick in, even if it wasn't a law that made that a crime. But, god damn it, how can you argue that we should get rid of the age of consent at all? This is why I don't see the point in this debate, and it's why I don't see the point in even entertaining Sneako anymore. I think I'm done with this. I don't want to go much more. Like, the only reason I'm carrying on is because I feel like there's got to be more to this. Is Tom... I mean, I don't know whether Tom's just going to keep dragging this out. He might. God bless him. He's there grinding away.
Do a good job of governing themselves and regulating their behavior. That's why not everybody walking out on the street is in jail right now. But when someone does not and they harm someone else, the government exists in this case to step in and prevent that harm or punish the harm perpetuating it, so it sets an example to others that they cannot partake in that harm. The government is not always right. There's a lot of bad shit they do, but in an ideal society, this is why they exist. There needs to be some kind of rule to the land because people...
Look, people don't agree with all the laws. I think that's obvious. But we need a government that is at the very least able to create laws that the vast majority of people agree with and are willing to follow. Because without that, humans would just have anarchy. It would be the Wild West. It would be whatever cliche you want to use. And of course, yes, there are a lot of people who still have a moral compass that would still live in relative harmony, but there's too many people who would just take advantage. And the same thing goes for the law of consent. Yes, maybe you could get rid of the law, and most people would not. I want to say most people wouldn't, still have sex with a kid, but fucking hell, like, just thinking of all of the stories that we've seen online in the last year. This year alone, this calendar year, with like, just the last week or two, or the last couple of weeks with Dr. Disrespect and fucking, I guess, Sneako at the minute, and Chris Tyson. I remember years ago we were dealing with this shit when it came to, was it Lion Tamer or something? In Minecraft? He was at it. This has been a problem for years, and so as sad as it is, and as much as I fucking hate it, I think there are more people than people would like to admit that would absolutely go around having sex with young kids if they could get away with it. Now, for a lot of us, most of us, I like to think, yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. But I think you only need to look at the evidence before you realize that there's a lot of people out there who haven't done anything and won't do anything because it's illegal. Who would if it was if there was no law. So, I just don't see, no, I don't see a world, thinking about it, I don't see a world where you can ever get rid of the age of consent and keep kids safe. I don't see a world where you could do that. And anybody arguing for it to be taken away, I would look at very suspiciously. The only way that I wouldn't look at someone suspiciously for making that argument is if it was the kind of debate where someone is given a stance ahead of time and they've got to do their best to argue for that stance. That then is, obviously, they're not arguing something that they necessarily agree with. They're just arguing what they've been given the task to argue in favor of. That's like the one time that if somebody was arguing in favor of it, that I'd be like, well, yeah, okay. But god damn it, it gets to the point where Sneako is on this video and on this debate, it's not even a debate, is it? On this stream, and he's saying, I myself would never, go with a 15-year-old. And honestly, I look at Sneako and I'm like, I don't believe you. I do not believe you. Because you seem to really believe that there is no need for an age of consent. And so either you really haven't thought about it beyond very basic level, or the other thing. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it there. Maybe there's more to this video. I don't know. I've already been doing this long enough. It's fucking deplorable shit. Charlie, don't get yourself in this position again, boy. You're not a debate streamer, unfortunately. Dear. As for Sneako, you're a fucking weirdo. I might watch the rest of the video off stream. And if there's anything more to it, then I'll tack it onto the end of the YouTube video. But, good God. That was not fun.